friends, and welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I am joined by my friend Lesley today. Lesley Flanagan is a master hair extensionist, salon owner, and business coach dedicated to helping hairstylists build their dream clientele with confidence and clarity. As the founder of SoExtra Coaching and co-creator of Local Luxury, she empowers stylists, especially those in smaller markets, to attract high-end clients, refine their consultation process, and elevate their extension services. With a background in luxury extensions and a passion for independent education, Lesley is on a mission to help stylists break free from limiting beliefs and step into their full potential as thriving beauty entrepreneurs. What a beautiful intro, Lesley. Hello, thanks for
Hi.
joining me today.
It's
Wow,
the first time I've heard someone besides my husband say it out
I
loud, so
love
thank you
it.
for that.
So props to Lesley. She jumped in and recorded this with me super last minute. So I'm so grateful for that. Turns out that day that I asked her to come on the podcast, she put me on a podcast on her vision board. So again, you guys, I'm not magic, but there's something. There's something happening with the vision boards and the people that I'm connected with. So yeah, I needed to get an episode out in this next week, and I have quite a few on the calendar for the coming up weeks, but I had nothing for this week, and it was either solo episode or I sent a few messages to a few different people, and Lesley was like, yes, let's do it. I just put that on my vision board. How crazy. Let's do it. We have known each other since, I guess, do you want to tell the story you were kind of just telling? Because we met through
Sure.
Thrivers way back in the day, and you've been in Soul Tribe for how long now?
January 2021, I looked it up.
Okay,
I
so four
wanted to
years.
have
Yeah.
and I remember when I joined Soul Tribe that Lydia was probably my oldest daughter. She was probably only like a year and a half. And so we have known each other. I don't remember when you joined Thrivers, but it's
In
definitely
2016. So we've known kind of knew
Oh,
each other
then
then.
we joined the same year because I joined
Okay.
Thrivers in 2016 as well.
Yeah.
So the story that I was just sharing with you was when we went to Thrivers Live 2020.
Hmm.
And I don't remember how you ended up with the microphone. I think you were wanting
I
to.
do.
Okay.
It was when Lori Harder was on stage and there was questions for her, and Britt knew that question was for me, and so she had me stand up and ask it. And I basically, it's when Stylist Soul Tribe was a baby idea, and it was something I was starting to grow and create. And I stood up, and I was so scared, and I just kind of asked her for feedback on that.
Yes. And so I remember while you were having your moment and you were sharing about creating Stylist Soul Tribe, I was on the entirely opposite side of the room. I had yet to meet you officially in person or have a
Yeah.
conversation with you. I think I didn't have a conversation with you face to face until it was our onboarding call, but in all of those years, we were just
I
kind of
remember hanging out with you in one of the bathrooms at Thrivers Live.
Oh, yes, maybe.
Off
Yes.
tangent, but I do remember that. That might have been the second one, though. Keep going.
Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself while you were up and you were standing and you had the microphone and you were talking to the two of them. And I remember saying that there was going to be great things that came out of this. You were going to do great things for the industry and providing a lot to us as stylists. And so the reason why I signed up to be in Stylist Soul Tribe is connected to this as well.
Mhm.
I have always had a difficult relationship with other women.
Yeah.
And so I have two little girls. And when I signed up to be in Stylist Soul Tribe, I really wanted to change that because it was important to me for my girls to have good relationships with other women. It was always my intention to build them up and have good relationships with them and to really be their friend and be there and be supportive, but sometimes it wasn't always receptive. My energy sometimes can be a lot for people. I'm very driven, I'm very passionate. And so when I point things out in order to have them improve and do better, some of them took it as an insult. And
Totally.
so when I don't remember what feeling or what it was, I just literally was like, something different needs to happen. And
Mhm.
so I applied to be in Stylist Soul Tribe, and then I was like floored that you had the conversation with me for me to be onboarded and to be a member. And then my first tribe call with my tribe, I went over and I was like, this is the reason why I wanted to be in here. And it's because women having relationships with other women in a sense that weren't family, because I have my family, I have my cousins, my sisters-in-law, I don't have any sisters, I only have brothers.
Yeah.
And so my family is like, oh, that's just Lesley. But then anytime I tried to be friends with anybody, it always felt like, yes, you know, she's great, da 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 da, and then they'd go off and they'd do something else, and I'd hear from somebody else something else, and
Mm.
it was never positive. So part of me, when I was pregnant, really, really wanted to. This is going to lead into some of the other things that I want to discuss today. I kind of was disappointed when I found out that I was having a girl instead of a boy.
Because I think that is real for some people.
And so it's not directly connected to the I don't love Lydia. I love her very much. She's my little mini me with her curly hair and everything, but I really wanted to have a little boy that looked and acted like my brother because, for reference, my brother passed away 15 years ago. And then at some point within the day that I found out that it was a little girl, my husband was ecstatic. And
Mhm.
so he is still very thankful to have his little girls.
Yeah.
But I realized that there was a reason why I wasn't meant to have boys.
Yeah. There was some healing there to do.
I'm meant to have little girls because I'm supposed to work on this thing where I am the biggest, yay, women empowerment. We could do whatever we can set our minds to, but it needed to be something that I needed to heal.
There was deeper things there. Like logically you can be there, but like energetically you
Right.
and physiologically probably even you just reacted differently. Like as much as the concept of that when you have so many things that have scarred you in the past, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
I was really certain that I was going to have a little boy. And then my husband had the biggest smile on his face when
mhm.
he found out that it was a girl. So part of that is something that I've been working on is relationships with being able to communicate with women. And for a
Yeah.
while there, I was just kind of like, oh, I intimidate them. They're just not for me.
Yeah. That's so interesting to hear. And I was telling Lesley this before we hit record. I have so many calls throughout Stylist Soul Tribe that I all tend to blur together and I forget a lot of little bits and pieces. But I vividly remember how I felt after your onboarding call. I was also a little bit worried. You laid it out. Like, I'm a little worried. I can be a lot for a lot of people. So good luck trying to put me with somebody with a group. There's a really good chance that this doesn't work out. And I remember just being like, oh, damn, like, is this going to work out or is this not going to work out? And I was like, we're going to try it, you know? And it's crazy that it's been 4 years because you've had different tribes, you've had different people around you. You've gone through so much over the last 4 years. It's wild to think about what all you have gone through. And even then, now, just recently, the moves that you're making, that I am so incredibly grateful because now knowing you, it's wild to me that you ever felt that way. Like being at the retreat with you back in October, I don't think anybody in that room would have ever guessed that there was a moment in time in your life where you didn't feel right at home in a group of that many powerful women. I don't know.
So that trip for Thriver, I'm gonna put Kim Bamford on the spot for a minute.
Do it.
We can tag her when
You
you
need
come.
to bring her on the podcast next. It's been a long time since I've caught up with her.
Yes, yes. So she was one of the first Thrivers in our local area that I met.
Yeah.
And she actually reached out to me for us to meet for coffee and to hang out, right? So when
Mhm.
we went to that first Thrivers Live 2020, she was the one that roomed with me. But what's
Yeah.
even funnier is I was in labor the day the tickets went on sale.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I want to go and I need to be there. There's a reason
Uh-huh.
why I need to be there.
Uh-huh.
I'm literally in labor with Lydia in the hospital, and she's like, "What's your login? I'm gonna get you your
That's so
ticket."
funny.
And so she was all set for it. She was like, "I'm gonna room with you. Are you sure you want to do this with me?" Because I was just going to do in a room by myself. I'm very particular. Most people come from a position of yes, 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 yes. They'll just say yes to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to be like, nope, not for me. Nope, not for me. And
Yeah.
so the other thing that happened at that Thrivers Live too is like there was a day where she had to say no to stuff,
Hmm.
and there was a day that I had to say yes to it no matter what.
Yeah.
I think that that was probably the start of me repairing that thing with that relationship with having
That's
friendships with
powerful.
women, and it had
Yeah.
to be that I needed to find somebody that was on the same drive
Mm.
and the same mindset and level that I was in order for that to happen. Honestly, if I hadn't connected with her, I don't think I would have got the things out of that trip that I wanted to,
Wow.
because that's also the trip I became friends with Melanie.
Mm.
And that there's like Gregory, I was at that dinner with
Mm.
Gregory, and so like a lot of things came out of that trip, and that was like the first time that like I really was like I showed up for something that was hairdresser related, and I was not scared about what was going to come out of my mouth
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
knew there wasn't going to be any judgment.
Yeah, yeah. And I think getting around somebody who doesn't have expectations of you and are like healed enough themselves, because sometimes those wounds, when other people have those and you get those two together, they almost, it's not the people that are butting heads, it's almost those wounds that are butting heads. So I'm so grateful that that was your experience and that you got to have that connection with her. And then I'm so grateful of all the work you've done and the, you know, the road that you've walked since then. So we had a few different talking points to go over. I feel like mindset is such a blanket statement. Do you have anything specific on that? I mean, I know we've obviously talked about that a little bit, but like, is there anything specific when it comes to like your mindset journey that really stands out to you?
I find that my little thing when people want to talk about mindset, a lot
Mhm.
of people forget that sometimes their mindset isn't shaped by them.
Oh, majority of the time, right? I mean,
Correct,
unless you're
right?
pretty
Like,
evolved and healed, like
right,
majority of the time, not.
right. And so there are things where that you could have in your mindset that are positive, and there are things that you can have in your mindset that are really, really negative. But a lot of times we focus on the things that are negative.
Yeah.
Right? We always want to change the things that are negative and we forget the good things that are positive that like
Mhm.
the people in our lives gave us. I'm very thankful for my parents because I don't know if I would be as okay with being direct if it wasn't
Yeah.
for them. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? As far as backstory, my parents came here as immigrants from Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
They came with my older brother. He was 3. I'm the first one that was born here.
Wow.
Not only am I their only girl, but I'm also the middle child and the first one that was born here. In our culture, there's lots of expectations versus what a boy does and what a girl does, right?
Yeah.
My parents, I think, were very advanced in the fact that, like, I was outside on the snowmobiles and the four wheelers with my brothers.
Yeah.
My father would be the type of person that, like, he would encourage me to speak up. He would get upset when I'd speak up against him, but you know what?
He built that.
So he had this drive. I think that my mindset and drive is because of this foundation that I've gotten from them. My
Yeah.
parents came here with nothing. And
Can't even
so,
imagine. Yeah.
can you imagine moving to a country with your kids and
No.
not being able to speak the language?
No, I think about that all the time. I mean, it's so remarkable the people who come and do that and just uproot their whole entire life in hopes of something better.
So like a little bit of their story is also my story because there's this thing where like the immigrant mentality, like we come here so that we do better so that you can have better, so you also need to do better. And some people take that the wrong way. I took it as a okay, this is the level, this is the thing that we're at. This is where I'm going to take from this. And so my dad's a really, really hard worker and he has had so many different businesses and I'm so proud of him. And I honestly think that that's where I get my entrepreneurial spirit from. And so I've also in the 20, I think I counted it yesterday, the 24 years that I've been a hairdresser, I've left
Mhm.
our industry 3 times.
Wow.
And so then I keep coming back to it because I knew that there was something here. And I
Mhm.
think and I remember too, like one of the times that I left to go get a college degree. So I have a degree in fashion and retail merchandising. And I remember signing up for college, my dad being like, you already have a perfectly good career.
Yeah.
Just work hard and work on that.
Stick with it. Yeah.
Right. And so, like, the entire time that I was doing my degree, I was still working as a hairdresser. But this part of me was like, yes, but you came here with nothing and you did the things. And I would look at him and I'd be like, we had this kind of franchise business. We had that kind of business. You did this, you did this.
You had big shoes to fill.
You're telling me to do the thing that you know, but you did the same thing too.
You ingrained it in me. Yeah.
And so we all work when we try to do these things. And so the conversation about mindset is always about the things that we want to train, we want to change. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is the things that are good that they give you. You need to hold on to them and you almost sometimes need to double down on them. That's
Triple.
how you fit
Mhm.
change the narrative. That's how
Oh,
it's the everyone talks about like trying to flip the negative.
yeah.
Sometimes it's about ignoring the negative and like focusing on the positive.
Zooming in on the positive.
Right.
I love that
And
so much.
so the whole thing of like how all of this has come to happen and like in all of even in the years that you've known me, you've seen it go like this and like
Yeah,
right.
sure have.
And some people, when the dip is low, they stay in there for too long. The best thing to note is like you can't
Hmm.
fake knowledge and you can't fake skill.
Loved that post. Yes.
So my post was is I believe that you can fake it till you make it when it comes to courage and confidence, but you can't do it with skill or knowledge.
Hmm.
Like that's not fair to
That's where
people.
you need to be honest.
Right. So sometimes in acting like the person that you, that's where that other thing comes too. And like acting and showing up as the person you want to be,
Mhm.
like that's how that works. It's that whole thing where like, telling your brain a lie because it doesn't know the difference, all of a sudden it just becomes the truth.
Mhm.
It's all included in all of that. And so that just brings back to the whole mindset conversation of how everything needs to be. Sometimes everything in your brain, if there's, you almost need to drown out the negative instead of always trying to reframe it, because then your brain might not be able
Oh,
to do that. So then
oh,
you just focus on the good things.
yep.
So
And I do think we have developed a culture of it's easy to like pull where you've been victimized. And I understand that. Like we all need to hold the space for that and like
yeah,
process through what we've dealt with. But I do think that what makes people not stay in that for too long is what you just said. I always like the quote I always say is expect nothing, appreciate everything. So like
right,
any of these unhit expectations or what should have happened or however I should have been raised or however all these people should be
right.
behaving, that's irrelevant. Just find what you can appreciate and really double down on that. I love that. I also think it's fascinating that your dad is so entrepreneurial. My dad is also a business owner. I am curious how
Really.
people in our industry are also come from an entrepreneurial background. Yeah.
So the podcast isn't about my dad, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I really think that a lot of it comes down to that. My mom too. So
Yeah.
in order for my dad to have businesses and be self-employed, you need to have insurance, right? So
Yep.
my mom worked a lot of years in a factory in order to create that stability so that my dad could live and have
Wow.
the business that he wanted. My husband, he works for our town. He's the town mechanic. And
I was
so
gonna say that's my husband too. My husband works his ass off, but my God, he's got good benefits.
yes, and
And
there's
that's
nothing
what I
wrong with
don't
that.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm very thankful for him. I'm very
Yeah.
thankful for the fact that he does live, like work in the town that we live in too, so that it's very convenient. I do think that that needs to be said too, that in order to create and do the things that we want to do, we need to have a support system.
Totally. And I
And
really do feel for like I mean there's people in Soul Tribe that are like single moms and don't have the luxury of that because I really do feel like I say that to Ryan all the time. I feel like we really kind of cracked the code almost. Like I have this business that's like very high risk, high reward. Like there's really no limit to what this can grow to. It's very I mean, there's not a ton of security. It's kind of newer age, newer, but then at the same, so like that has the risk or the reward possibilities, but then he has the stability, the insurance, the benefits, the whatever. And I don't know if or when it would get to the point where we let go of that security. But yeah, my husband does work his ass off and he works really, really hard. So shout out to Ryan as well. Shout out to
yeah,
all the guys. But I also do feel for the people who don't have that as well, because I know there's a lot of people
and
even in
I can't, I'm gonna be honest, I
yeah.
couldn't imagine. So
Totally. Paying their own insurance, paying their own, fully funding their own retirement, and having no other security to lean on that. So, yeah, absolutely grateful for that. Okay, kind of a tougher turn of the conversation, but I think we should talk a little bit about grief. I
yeah,
don't know if I've heard you super in depth talk about your brother. I do see every year when you post it, and it's almost like as I'm scrolling, I see your face. Like every year when like I see, like
yes.
at this point, I recognize who he is. Yeah,
So
and
he's, for those watching on video,
uh,
he's not in that frame, but that is a framed comic book. It's an X-Men comic book and it's Rogue. It's one of the editions. So we're big comic book nerds. The reason why there's Superman there and Superman there is for him. He was more DC, I was more Marvel for those that are into comic books.
love it.
And so when I talked to my husband the other day, I was like, should I film it in the office or should I film it at home? And his first response was, that new webcam that we got you has the best microphone than the one that's in the office, but also how cool would it be that your brother would be over your shoulder for the conversation
Oh,
that you're going to
I
have.
love that. I love that so
So,
much. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about your brother. Tell me a little bit about what experiencing grief was for the first
so
time in your life. And then if you want to dive more into other stories with that or not, because I feel like I've been in your life enough now and watched you experience.
I'm going to give the abridged version, but I do
Okay.
think that this needs to be said
Yeah.
because it's a part of my story, but like it's a much larger, bigger story.
Yeah.
He died in a car accident 15, so of all dates, September 11th, 2010, which is however many years after the original September
Yeah.
11 attacks, right?
Yeah.
He and three other boys his same age left that Friday night to go out drinking, and we don't know if somebody ran them off the road, an animal or what, but their car went off the road and then all of them died, what the coroner says, instantly.
Mm. How old?
He was 24 years old.
And how old were you?
I was 27.
Mm.
I have an older brother
Mhm.
who's 7 years older than me, and then my two brothers are exactly 10 years apart.
Okay.
Tomorrow, my older brother George, his birthday is February 18th. Tomorrow, February 1st, is my brother Alex's birthday.
Wow.
So that was the other reason. Like I was almost like, oh, we can record on Saturday. And I was just like, no, that's probably not a good not a good day because this flows into the grief conversation. So yes, so they didn't find them for over 48 hours. They
Mm.
went missing.
Mm.
And not only was it like it was all over the news, it was
Mhm.
also like the day that was the worst for it to be all over the
Totally.
news, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And so it was like four 24-year-old boys are missing. And so news publications, news vans coming to my parents' house, and like then they find them and then they can't announce names, but then people know, and then, like people are talking to people.
Mm.
I remember standing at his wake and everybody is just like, oh my God, she's holding it so together. And I just remember being like, I had my moment. I freaked out when I found out. And then now I'm in this position where like my mom, my dad, and my older brother, we're all trying to do our best because there's all these people here. And
Can
so
I
it
just
just,
say it? I feel like maybe I've said this before in the podcast. I think the way that I don't know if it's Americans, I don't know if it's humans, the way we go about death of a loved one is so fucking bizarre to me.
yes.
I don't know if that was helpful or healing to you. I've lost all of my grandparents. I have never had like an unjust loss yet, knock on wood. Nobody my age, my parents are still alive. Well, some friends, but not really close people.
Right.
I've never had a stand in that funeral progression line. It feels so fucked up from the outside looking in that that's how we do that.
I stood we went, I think it was like an hour and a half after the
Yeah.
time of the wake. So, mind you, he passed away in 2010. They now do things differently because of COVID as far as like funeral things. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is like, I don't know if it's strong, like I think it's tied to my drive, right?
Yeah, they kind of.
When bad things happen, the way that I still move forward like I think that was the truest test of my mindset.
Your tough shell. You almost double down in times of
That
hard.
I'm going to tell you right now, I probably get for my mother. That woman is somebody who holds it together. You know when you love her and when she loves you too, and you see her softer side. But my mom is I'm definitely that. Like I have this type of personality that's like a blend of the two, which most kids do too. But like the entrepreneurial side and the personality of my dad. But then the whole thing where I tend to be a little like individual or off-putting. Like when we were
Yeah.
talking about enneagrams on Mel's class, and like
Yeah.
the fact that like you knew right off the bat that mine was like that I'm a mancheger and an individualist.
Mhm.
And so my mother's a very strong woman too. Obviously, during that time, it's your child who's not going
No,
to be, right?
no.
And so I remember thinking to myself that this is going to be very difficult for the both of us. I
Mhm.
will have my time to do what I need to do for myself, but for
Mhm.
right now, I need to do the things because I've been all three of us growing
Mhm.
up because they came here with nothing. Like I remember being 8 years old and having to help translate for them and things like that.
Mhm.
And so I had to be an adult and I had the maturity level and the things in order to make sure that our family did the things that we need to do. So then that was just like another thing of like, I needed to be there and I needed to do the things in order to make sure that everybody was okay, right? But it's also important to note that when I needed the time for myself, my husband was there for me and I had my moments.
Totally.
I'm always been really good at like the faking the courage and the confidence
Yeah.
in front. But I'm okay with like letting that down and like being in
When
another
the time is right, but you also can't let it keep you down forever. And
right,
I think that's I think a lot of people with grief have to, some, get stuck kind of in it either long term or forever. But I think that's unfortunately the lesson that people who have experienced such close grief have to just learn. And I think that's,
right. And
yeah.
so like me and my brothers, we did everything together. And I actually cut his hair that night before he went out.
Mm.
And so he was always somebody that was really, really proud of what I did. He was even proud when I was taking my degree for fashion and retail merchandising. Like he would tell everybody, like, I learned how to dress nice for my sister. Like my
Oh.
sister told me how to coordinate stuff and like how to dress nice and all that. Like he would
Speaking
tell
of, I'm so
everybody.
excited for your master class. That's
Oh
fun.
yes, yes, yes. And so a lot of people were very surprised that 2 weeks later I went back to work.
Yeah.
And
Looking back, are you happy with how you chose to do that, or do you think,
absolutely,
yeah, that was the right way through for you?
absolutely that I am okay with it because I felt like at the time I was still living with my parents. I felt like that if I didn't go back to work, they were putting a good face on for me, and I felt like they needed to have the time for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no,
so I
you understand that in a whole different light. Yeah.
yeah. And so I went back to work and everyone's like, "Oh my God, are you okay? What are you doing here?" Da, da, da. I'm like, I can't sit in bed another day.
No. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to do something that feels normal and I have to do something that is enjoyable. And so like, and then everybody, so every client that this was, mind you, like back in 2010, I would do like 14 people a day, double booking. Like I had to have the conversation multiple times a day, how it happened, what really happened based on then what was on the news and like how I was feeling, da 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 da. Um, and I chose to focus the days that are hard for me are the anniversary of his passing and his birthday, right?
Understandably so.
Those are the days that I allow myself to just do whatever I want to do. And so I think the reason why I've still done the things in my career and moved forward is I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's I like to make the joke that it's the ADHD and the object permanence, where like if it's not directly in front of me, then I
Totally.
forget that
Yeah.
it exists. So then I can do the other things
You
that
can
I need
almost
to do.
compartmentalize a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Um, and so the reason why I chose to speak about grief a little bit is
Yeah.
because I definitely think that it's tied to like my mindset and then
Who you
also
are.
my drive.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's such a formative age too, going
At
through
27
something
years
like
old to
that.
lose your brother,
That's
yeah,
a bit in 27, like that is an age where you really are like, I don't know, your frontal cortex is developing, your core values are developing, really who you are in this world is developing. Going through something like that so altering, I have to imagine no matter, I mean, you can be 127 and that's going to still be such a
right.
key time in your life. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I'm glad that you shared that and I'm glad you touched on that. I guess any pieces that you would say for a stylist that is navigating grief right now, like any takeaways that you could share.
you need to do what's best for you. Me having the conversations with like, so my clients would be like, I don't know why you're here. You don't have to do my hair. And so the verbiage or the thing that I would say was, no, I need to be here. And I
Mhm.
need to have something that's normal and I need to get back to my routine. I can't lay in bed and think about it anymore. Like I need some sense of like being me outside of what happened to me.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I need to be able to touch, like I need to focus on something that's positive. That goes back to that whole mindset thing of like, it's not always about like pushing and reframing the negative. Sometimes it's go doubling down on the things that are good. So I doubled down on spending time with my clients and doing the things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
Um, and a part of me, the thing that I would always say is he wouldn't want me to stay in bed and
No.
rot.
No, definitely not.
That's the last thing he wanted for me. He was the proudest person. Like, I remember when I accidentally gave him a faux hawk before the faux hawk was popular. But, and then the next time I cut his hair, he's like, "Can you do that again?" And I was just like, "You got mad at me. Now you want
That's
it on
so
purpose?"
funny. Yeah, that's so funny. Okay. I love hearing what makes you you. I have, like I said, over the years, just like grown to love you and adore you so much. I have said it to you, and I don't know if you're feeling it the same way I'm feeling it. And maybe it's just I've been in your life long enough now, or we've had more just kind of compounded time. I feel like just recently, Lesley, you've really shifted a lot. You really have. You've stepped into coaching. Feels, I always use the vocabulary big magic-y. But I feel like honestly, even just a year ago,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you feel this or if it's just my perspective, because maybe I'm full of it. I feel like you are very different recently in a good way, in a very good way. What used to feel sometimes, of course, we all have highs, we all have lows,
All
but what
right.
used to feel sometimes chaotic, sometimes cleaning up a mess, sometimes like from a coaching perspective too, you have been solid for a while where that wasn't your way for
Yeah.
quite a bit in the beginning. So what shift happened there? And then feel free to share how this coaching has presented itself, kind of what your vision is moving forward with that.
Um, I I know when it happened,
Okay.
and it was the so I find that a lot of like the things that happen are also like emotional and hormonal, and as women, like, we tend to feel a little bit more. And I think the reason why I tend to be somebody who like doesn't always like put myself out there or like keep things closer or closed off is because like the showing the emotion is a lot. It was a lot for me before my brother passed away, and then I felt like I was under a microscope as like some people were looking for guidance on how they should be dealing with it, and so like I felt like I was kind of like setting the example, right? So it was really hard for me to be somebody. I've always been somebody where it's hard for me to cry in front of people.
Mhm.
And so then that was like probably the one.
Given your stories thus far, I think it's fair to understand that vulnerability is not the forefront for you. Yeah.
No, no, no. And so there were definitely times where I would like have my moments and things would not go the way that I wanted. Especially I know that there's a couple coaching calls that you're thinking of inside of your brain that happened
Yeah, totally.
a year or two ago, where I definitely was doing a lot of things where like I was just dealing with what was in front of me, but I
Totally.
wasn't looking at the bigger picture, right?
Yes.
And it's funny that you say exactly a year, because I do feel it was literally the year. I feel like
Crazy.
this time last year, something just clicked in my brain where I was just like, I'm tired of my own shit.
That's
I'm
powerful.
just tired of my own
And I don't, and
stuff.
like, I don't think you were saying that, but it's not, I wasn't feeling tired of your shit, but I could just tell. And from a coach's perspective, it's so gratifying because I have always obviously seen the potential. Because I feel like it used to be kind of highs and lows, and I loved when you were at the highs, but you'd hit these pits. And from a coach's perspective, it's like, damn, I wish I could pull her out of that. I don't know what it's been. It's like, it's not me, it's not Soul Tribe. There's just something about people who have it. It's almost like this like it factor. I don't know how to
Yeah.
describe it, but I can just tell you've been solid lately. And I
Yeah.
fucking love that.
And what I meant by the like I was tired of my own shit, I
Yeah.
was tired of like trying to do 5 million things at the same
Yes.
time and putting like huge unattainable like
Mm.
things and being like, I'm going to accomplish all this in this
On my
year,
plate too, put this on my plate too, put this on my plate too.
but
Yeah.
then never breaking it down and like really doing the action steps, and instead focusing on the things that were the dumpster fires that kept getting dumped in your lap, instead of being like the thing that I'm naturally good at and being like, no, that's not for me. No, that's not for me. No, that's not for me. I kept trying to find like, so
Yes.
the teaching, the educating, all of that. So I before I became an independent educator in 2019, I had tried out for, or I should say, interviewed or applied to be an educator. I think I hit 5 brands,
Mm.
5 brands. And then I made it in on one of them, where I'm not going to mention any of them. I made it in on one of them and then was on the inside and was like, oh, no, this is not for me.
Okay.
And the reason why I choose to teach and educate independently, this falls in line with the coach, the thing that happened a year ago.
Mhm.
Um, is because I am somebody who's passionate and I want to teach from what's behind the chair.
Mm.
Like I couldn't share things from a brand underneath the brand umbrella that wasn't going to be something that could get me in trouble. And so then I decided that I wanted to be able to share and encourage and educate from a perspective of like, I don't care what brand you use.
We're speaking a lot to like the extension world right now. Yes.
Specifically, yes, yes.
Mm.
And but there was a time where I was trying to teach color as well. Like I'm massive nerd when it comes to the
But
side
it
of
all has worked out how it's meant to work out. And isn't
correct.
it funny how when it's in alignment, you don't have to work so hard for it. You don't have to
Right.
scratch and claw and figure it out and deep dive. It just kind of flows. And I don't know, again, I'm not living your life, but from the outside looking in, it feels like it's been flowing a lot easier for you lately, which to me tells me it's alignment.
It's alignment, but it's also that you have you ever seen the iceberg? Like you only see the top,
Uh-huh.
and then
Uh-huh.
there's all that stuff on the underneath.
Uh-huh.
I think the thing that happened a year ago when I say that I was tired of my own shit is I started working on the things that were important. I
Mm,
started figuring out the funnel or the focus for how I wanted to do things. So
mhm,
I decided what it was specifically with the girl that I with Susie, who's the co-founder of Local Luxury with me. We
okay,
just at the time we were teaching color and balayage and all this other stuff, and so then we decided that we were going to go all in on hair extensions. I had taught a private one-on-one at least once a year, so I
mhm,
knew that there was a market for it. But there
mhm,
was just something about my inability to like execute that I
mhm,
couldn't figure out how to
mhm.
get it to build. And
Yeah,
then it was like as soon as like I went through all of that stuff this past January and just put everything on the table and was like, okay, this is the things that I absolutely have to accomplish.
yeah,
These are the things that if I don't accomplish, it's okay, but it would be nice if I get them done. I just
yep.
started being really, really strategic. And instead of being in a place of like, well, this isn't going to happen, I started being like, well, what if it did happen? How would I feel? And things like that. And so there's plenty of things that are on the vision board for last year that didn't happen. And that's okay. But then,
You
like,
feel
the things that did
excited.
happen and the things that made sense were the ones that were meant to happen. And the reason why the other ones didn't happen is because they weren't meant for me.
Yeah, yep.
And
And
that's okay.
And it takes a lot to realize that, especially someone who just like can dream up idea after idea after idea after idea. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Like
I
some
can
people
see
are really,
opportunity in front
oh
of
my God.
me.
And some people think they're really special when they have those, like that when there's somebody that generates ideas. And not that you want to tell them they're not special, because it's like, that's great. I love that you have that, but eventually you've got to do something about it, or you're just another
Right.
person talking about ideas. And it feels like it's special. It feels good to talk about them, but there is not a lot of people executing. And that's what I feel like you, and whether it was lessening your load, I think you would let go of some things that you need to let go
Yes, that's
of.
part of the conversation too that we can
Yes.
have too. And
We
so
are getting a little bit tight on time. So tell
yeah.
me how that ties in, because we got a hard stop in an hour. But yes, tell me how that ties in.
And so in the reason why I couldn't get the things that I wanted was because I wasn't willing to let go for the things to make space for it.
Mm,
So if I wanted to bring on coaching and I wanted to do more education, I had to realize that like obviously I can't be traveling for weddings anymore. I had to give that up.
yep.
So we pulled advertising from weddings, like
Yep.
just point blank. We have one wedding
And
scheduled.
when you first pulled out, were you scared? Like, were
Oh,
you
yes,
okay?
absolutely.
Yep.
Because then I was like, oh shoot, like this is a huge chunk of my business that we're
And
like
I think
25%
that
of
scarcity is like, oh, there's still something here. It could be huge. It could blow up. I could do this. But
seeing the opportunity and
yes.
everything. That
Mhm.
was that thing. And
Yes.
so it got really clear to me that I was like, I'm only one person. And now I don't have just one daughter, I have two little girls.
Yeah. And a team. I mean, yeah.
Right. And then I have the girls in the salon. Like a lot of people depend on me. And so it needed to be very laser focused on the things that I needed to do. And
Yeah.
so it's that thing. And then, so it was the just really getting clear on the picture, but then also having the confidence, or like, even if it was fake confidence sometimes,
Yep.
to be like, this is it. This is going to work. And then
I'm
like,
just going to keep pushing. Yep. I'm going to
correct.
keep showing up, even when it's scary, even when I don't know if I can do
And
this. I'm going to keep sticking with it.
right. And I kept getting, like, I kept having, it is so funny. It's connected to social media. And the reason why I say it's connected to social media is that nobody knew what I had to offer because I wasn't posting it. Once I stopped
Oh,
giving a shit and just posting, it was like someone turned on the light switch.
look at that. Yeah.
That's
And there's
literally
a
all
lot
it
of people
was.
with that too that just have this fear of being seen. And again, all these ideas, but they'll really quietly whisper it every here and there when you're finally just like, here I am in all of my glory, take it or leave it. It's wild how, oh wow, look at that. I mark it and they
And
come.
some of that happened like at the retreat with us too. I realized, like, I remember you being like worried that I was going to miss the welcome dinner. And like,
Uh-huh.
I showed up the next morning after, like, my flight landed at 1:30 in Miami. And the next morning I showed up and I remember just being like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And
Yeah.
so I had the conversation, like the ones that I didn't know that were Silent Soul Tribe members, they either came up to me or I went up to them and I introduced myself, and then we were fine, and then we went upstairs and like we just rolled
I
with
feel like that whole, and so for a little bit of clarity, Lesley did this Rich Stylist Academy coaching training
yes.
straight to the Stylist Soul Tribe retreat. And I remember when you told me that that's happening, I was like, oh my goodness, girl, you are biting off more than you could chew. You've already been like, you got so much on your plate.
Right.
But I really think, and I think you knew it, and that's why I was just like, yes, yes, yes to all of it. I
Yeah.
really
It was the
think
first time
you're
in my life I said
on
yes
it.
to everything.
Yes.
When I always say no to stuff.
You knew it was
Let's put
right.
a pin in
And
that.
yes. And
Let,
it's
let,
really fun and it's really cool to watch. So if you were to briefly
yes.
how you are showing up and how you are helping people not right now, and if somebody is listening to this and as you're explaining kind of who you can help and how you can help them, let us know what that is. And then obviously we'll have all your information in the show notes of this episode.
So I am focusing on helping other stylists, whether they're building a hair extension clientele or they're a salon owner that wants to build out their stylists that have hair extensions specifically. I do, I'm really good at giving outsider perspective and helping with people that get stuck with ideas or finding inspiration. Like in our Stylist Soul Tribe, Marco Polo, Leisha was actually stuck on something and I gave her inspiration for something and she's like, I'm gonna put that through. Like I'm always
Sometimes you just need a new perspective. Yep.
right. And sometimes you just need to have that one-on-one conversation with somebody where like, I'm stuck here. If you were in, it's a little bit of like, if you were in my position, what we do, and a little bit of trying to get the person to a clear thought. And
Yeah.
so I have multiple ways that if people want to have more education and things that are happening, but the coaching aspect of it, you can find information on the website. It's of 3 months, you get an hour call with me. The first call is actually a 2 hour onboarding call where we literally make you put like, or I should say, I make you give me all of the details
Yeah.
of your business that you're willing to share so that if I don't have a clear picture, then I can't do the thing that I do best, which is find the gap for you or connect the dots for you.
Really
It's
high touch, in depth, one-on-one coaching.
Yes. And so we are also launching me and Susie are launching two class. We're offering it twice if we're offering it in April and then also in May. It's how to
Virtual
be
or in person?
in person.
Okay, where at?
One is here in Salem, one is at my salon, the other one is in Rochester, New York at her salon. And what we're doing is how to incorporate K-tips into your weft installations.
Love, love, love. I'll have that all linked in the show notes for everybody
Yes.
listening. Cool.
And so I'm really like all of this alignment and all this stuff that's coming. I'm really feeling called to help the other stylists and to also help them create consistency in social media and those things. And so it's something that I've always been really, really passionate. Like when I remember coming home from classes and like, oh my God, I learned this thing. I need to show it to you. And
Yep.
so this is now a way for me to give back and to mentor and to help other stylists. And I use the word mentor because a lot of times it's like, it's not always people that are younger than me. It's people that are older than me and people that are my same age. There's just sharing of knowledge, right?
Yep.
And it's a lot of, I used to say, if I could bottle my drive and sell it, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right. And so I find that this is the closest thing to it. And I've been
Wow.
referring to it as is like you
Yeah.
get to rent my brain.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
You get to ask me all the things. And so, yes, so we'll link all the things. But if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to DM me or send me a message on Facebook if you have to and happen to
And
find
your ideal person that would be getting coaching with you, are they an established extension artist? Are they a newer extension artist? Like I know you can take anybody, but dream person.
I actually I think that I could help anybody at any level, but I find that the sweet spot is the ones that have already done some
Mm-hmm.
installs
Yep.
or have attempted to take the class, they've gotten certified, they've done a model or two and then gotten discouraged.
Can't
And
get that initial clientele built.
yes, because everyone gets stuck on like, I got certified, I go to do it, and then like I get no consultations now. What do I do?
Or the imposter syndrome with the charging prices you've never charged before,
Correct.
actually sticking with these prices. Yeah, so that's kind of the stylist that you're looking for. I will have all of that linked in the show notes. So if you are that stylist listening, maybe that means something. I don't know. The same way Lesley put a podcast on her vision board and this happened. If this is in your eardrums right now, I don't know. Maybe it's meant to be. So Lesley, as no surprise, I feel like we could do 5 more
Yes.
episodes right now. I feel like we could keep going and going and going and going. We didn't even touch all of our talking points, but that's fine. I told Lesley to reach out to me anytime because I'm always looking for people to podcast with. I'm always needing to batch episodes and get them out there. So she may be back. We'll see. Yeah.
Yes.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Um, no, I'm just happy and glad that I could do this for a community that I am also a part of.
Heck yes. And I'm so glad too. And I'm just really proud of you for putting yourself out there the way you have been. Because you were kind of a quieter member for a while. And I think in embracing all this new alignment, all the growth you've done, you are been showing up, you have been there, you have been helping, you have been giving back. So I'm very grateful for that as well, because it's people like you that make Soul Tribe good. So amazing. All right. Thank you, friends, for listening. Thank you again, Lesley, for being here. Every single thing we talked about will be linked in the show notes. Lesley is a real person. You can DM her, you can reach out to her, you will get a response. Anything piqued your curiosities, left you with any questions, just reach out to her and she would love to chat. And me too. You can reach out to me too. Cool. All right. Thanks again, Lesley, and thank you guys for listening. I will talk to you next week.